Hello everybody, and as usual, thank you very much for watching my video. I hope that you like my episode today. And today we are going to look at the suit scope for the FAL rifles. It's also known as the Trilux suit scope. However, suit, S-U-I-T, actually means sight unit infantry Trilux. So this is, I guess, really more of a suit scope than a Trilux suit scope, because you're kind of saying Trilux twice. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny when I figured that one out. Sometimes you'll find these in Hebrew because Israel also use these on their FALs. In this video here, we're going to take a look at the mounting system, how to mount the scope, release the scope, how to adjust the sights on it. We're going to talk about the illumination. There's two different types of illumination. One is in a modified, which is what I have. There's an original and a modified. I have the modified. We're also going to take a look inside. We're going to look through the scope itself for the, I guess, uniqueness of this scope. Now, this scope was never used or never designed to be a sniper rifle. I'm sure many of you already know that. It was designed to be used as more of a suppression rifle. The person who had it would be the designated marksman. Basically, this scope here would enhance the view of the person using it, and it has a fixed power of 4. It's not adjustable. You cannot adjust the focus on it unless you go inside and mess with stuff inside there, which is something that you would not do in the field. That's strictly for the armory. And so a fixed power of 4 really does enhance the viewing distance quite a bit. And so the way that I describe it as a suppression rifle is that the guy using it would be able to hit the enemy at a much longer distance because he can see them clear, or at least he can keep their heads down because he was using a semi-automatic rifle compared to a bolt action, which is what you would use for a sniper rifle. And so let's begin here with the actual mounting system. Now I got this here. This is the dust cover. There's 3 different pieces: dust cover, this bracket, and then this bracket. These look like they're spot welded on. And I got this for about $60 quite a few years ago. And I'm going to give you some advice. If you are interested in buying yourself one of these suit scopes, obviously you probably know by now they cost somewhere around $5-ish to $700. And if you're thinking about getting one in the future, I would immediately start looking for one of these, because I buy a lot of stuff on eBay and I rarely ever see any of these unless you know where there's a source. But these, in my opinion, are going to be a lot harder to find than the scope itself. Now, we're going to talk about inches and metric. I have an inch pattern rifle, and for those of you who saw my video on non-detachable magazine, you saw me talk about this thing. This is a dust cover for a stripper clip for the same rifle. And I bought that one new from DS Arms for about $40. And it's advertised as a metric pattern dust cover, and I have an inch pattern dust cover. It fits absolutely perfectly fine. And I'm telling you this because just in case you do find one of these and they're advertising it as an inch pattern or a metric pattern, and you have the opposite rifle, I'm going to take a bet and say that it's okay. It'll fit. Because if these two fit on my inch pattern, then obviously it's going to be okay. When it comes to the magazines, that's a little bit different, and there is a trick to that, the magazine part. But this dust cover seems to fit both metric and inches. Now we're going to talk about how to mount it now. Let's go ahead and mount this thing. Now, you see this sort of a V groove here. This is for the front adjustment screw. This little hook here is for the wire that's going to come down and like loop onto that. And then this round post here, this tube post, is going to go right in that notch right there. So you can go ahead and put that on. Always make sure that this is all the way back. Now it has a little bit of resistance, so don't be too scared to kind of like yank it back a little bit. So we're going to sit that in here and see, kind of hard when I can't even look at it. Okay, so you see how that sits in there, in that side. You can take it off just like that. So that means that this hook is not, you're not hooking it as you put it in. You're just literally sitting it in there. Once you push this down, then you're hooking the wire. The wire itself kind of goes around and hooks onto that little hook part. So there, you're all set. All right. So as I mentioned, this is a 4-power scope, and I've been shooting it at 1,000 yards, which I do have a short video on that. If you don't want to get, if it's, if you'd like to look at it, I would recommend it. It's not a very long video, and I'm actually going to take a look at it in a minute. Because the 4-power is actually quite a huge help in being able to see that far. So I can imagine trying to see somebody, an enemy soldier's head popping up at 300, 400, 500 yards, just barely the tips of their heads. It's like Call of Duty. They pop up and then they pop down, but when you have a scope, even a 4-power fixed scope, it really does help. And there is, although you cannot zoom or even focus this scope on at all, you can adjust the elevation and windage. Windage, of course, being the left and right. So in the front here, you'll have this screw and then that screw to bring down or up that screw that you see there. What you need to do is you need to loosen this one as much as needed so that you can move that one, because this one is basically a locking screw for the elevation here. In the back, you'll see this screw right here, and that one there is for your windage, which is left and right. It can move to the left or to the right. It's a subtle move, but it does help. When I sighted in my FAL, I was way off when I was shooting it. I was like really, really wacky way off. And so using those two, I was able to sight the scope in really nice and easily. Now, there is another little feature with this particular rifle, and my thumb is on it right now. This scope is basically sighted at about 300 meters, and that's what this lever is here. When you move this lever forward, watch how this picks up. You see it going up? You see it going up from the back end? Okay. Now you're more calibrated, or what do you call it, center fired at 500 meters. At 300 and now 500. That's just a little bit to help you. Since these scopes were meant to be used at 400, 500, 600 meters, that's really all you need to adjust it for. That was the design of these rifles and with this scope. But as I said, when you're shooting at 1,000 yards like I am, there's a little something that you got to do, which I'm going to show you right now. The difference between a sniper scope, which this is not, and this particular scope. Now, up here, you see that scope on my TV there. When you center a sniper scope, you put the crosshairs at whatever center you want it to do at, 100 or 200. It looks like maybe it's 200 here. But when you're going to shoot at something that's about 500 yards or meters, you actually put the target right here. You can't aim the target here anymore if you're shooting at 500 meters. You're going to put the target right here. So that's how you know. But with this scope here, the goofy thing about it is that it actually has a different system. And it's kind of what makes it kind of what makes it a little bit unique in that it has a post. You see that? It has a post coming in from basically the top. It has a post coming in from the top, right? And you point the pointer on top of the target. But again, this is mostly set at about 300 meters and 500 meters or so. So when you're shooting farther, you have to adjust basically Kentucky windage this thing. And this is me in my video shooting it at 1,000 yards. Now, as you can see here, okay, this is really important that you take a look at this because it's quite interesting. Because this scope does not have zoom or those crosshairs with those, what is those MOAs, those slashes? When you are, this is me looking through my Barsker scope. When I'm shooting with this scope at 1,000 yards, what I'm actually aiming at, believe it or not, when I'm putting the post, right? I'm not putting the post up here. I'm literally putting it up here. Literally up here and to the little bit to the left. Maybe because it was windy, but with my friend who was spotting me, we were able to get pretty darn close, enough to like really have fun with it. But without the scope, and I'll tell you right now, my friends, without the scope, do you see this little yellow mark right here? Well, without the scope, it looked about a quarter of the size of what you see now. Without the scope, I mean, you are almost shooting blind. In fact, when we're aiming, we're looking at these rocks first, and then we're saying, oh, yeah, you see those two little dots? Yeah, that's the big one to shoot at. So we were aiming up here with the scope and the post, but through our eyes, this big yellow circle looked about a quarter of the size of this thing here. So this scope really does help. So let's take a real quick look at me shooting it. You saw that?
Close, man.
Saw it right there.
About a yard. 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, okay. But really, really close.
See, right there.
Close, maybe closer.
Hit right there. Anyway, I wanted to show you that, to basically show you that this thing really does help quite a bit. Or using the scope really does make a big difference when you're shooting that far. So imagine if you're only shooting at 400 or 500 yards with this thing. That's pretty awesome. And we're gonna take a look now. Now let's talk about the illumination. And as you see the video here, this eBay sale here. This rifle originally came with an illumination that was powered by radioactive material, and it was supposed to last about 8 to 12 years. Unfortunately, look at the price on that for one. If you want 2 of them, it is $134. Yikes. And what you're getting is that, which is this thing here. It's a little bit different because mine is actually the modified version that uses LED lights, which are more like this, and uses batteries that are these disc batteries. And this is the batteries that I use for it. You need at least 3 volts. So you have two of them at 1.55 stacked on top of each other for this one here, and it's a lot cheaper. These were what, $1.75 for like 4 of them. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and hate myself for this, because what I did to make this work was I basically Mickey Moused this thing, because I haven't been able to find a pattern for it, or a what do you call it, a diagram on how to wire it properly. So what I did, I kind of Mickey Moused it, and I'm gonna end up messing it up right now because mine does work, even though I really don't need it, obviously. So the illumination, now let me tell you, the illumination is used for when it's darker, say for example in the morning or at night. And if having been a shooter for 20-something years, especially with the older rifles like Mausers and such, with the V-notch rear and the front post, and I've done World War I and World War II night battles, you have no idea if you're actually shooting straight. That's why somebody invented tracers. But you have no idea if you're really aiming a bolt action or a semi-auto correctly at nighttime, because you can't match the front sight and the rear sight. It's very, very difficult to line them up the way they're designed to be lined up. So the way I did this one here, so I think this is a really great idea to have illumination. Take a look at this right now. The way that I did it is a bit Mickey Mousey, but it does work. And if you have an LED light system, I would be your best friend if you could show me how the hell this thing's supposed to work. So when the knob, you turn the knob and you press this down, it lights up. Let me see here. Where are you? You see that? You see that? Now it's off. Now it's lit up. Okay. You can see that I'm pushing down, touching the wires, and it's lit up. So that's basically how that works. As this little knob is turned down, it comes down, pushes the spring, and it makes contact with the battery. So what you do is you have 2 different batteries in here. Okay? 2 different batteries. And you've got the LED lights sitting inside there. And let's put some light in there. Yeah, there you go. You got one wire going across the bottom, and then the other wire that goes through a hole and up in through that little spring here, and it comes out the top. And like I said, when you push down on that screw, it brings down this, which makes contact with the batteries that are stacked one on top of each other like this. Okay, which makes a 3-volt battery. Now, if they made a 3-volt battery that was like this, it would be a lot nicer. I haven't been able to find one. Okay, this is like a 1.5. I have not been able to find one. So if you find one, be a foul pal. I should be a license plate, a foul pal, and let me know by putting the picture of what or the name of the brand or whatnot that you found it, because I would much rather have a battery like this than 2 like this. Oh my goodness. Okay, well my friends, I hope that you were interested in this rifle scope here. It's really cool. I love it. And I will see you in another video. Thanks again for your time.